over the course of the last, couple of weeks, like we've been watching the death of talking points left and right.
Media companies.
And hold on. Wait, yeah. So let me see if I can get past this. All right. Like the lumber one is probably the most obvious talking point that's just died. But a good portion, like the defund the police thing fell apart because, again, Democrats just released money from the COVID relief bill to go to police departments all over the country to hire more people, and the only people who voted against it were Republicans. So that died. And over the course of the last, like we just watched these die. The big tech one, I think we're watching this fall apart. We're watching the tech argument. This is what it looks like when it dies live. But speaking of this is Alan Dershowitz, I think. Constitutional paradox never seen before. Dershowitz on Trump's big tech battle with Sean Spicer.
This case is one of the most important First Amendment cases in my lifetime.
No, it isn't. Not by any measure. And I think we all feel like Sean Spicer looks right now.
And I did the Pentagon Papers case and the I Am Curious Yellow case. I argued cases in the Supreme Court. This is
Did you leave your underwear on, though? That inquiring minds want to know.
Really important because it presents a great constitutional paradox.
No, it doesn't.
It pits freedom of speech against the First Amendment. Wow, how could that be? There's no doubt.
Freedom of speech is in the First Amendment.
That the media giants are denying President Trump his free speech, and
no, they're not. He could stand on a fucking street corner.
My free speech. They've taken down a debate between me and Bobby Kennedy, and they're also
Why did they do that? Because Bobby Kennedy is an anti-vaxxer?
Denying the free spech rights of people who want.
And because they don't want people to think that, oh, he's a Kennedy, he must know something. So we'll watch this. Oh my goodness, I shouldn't have my children get a measles vaccine. You can say that, but you don't get to say it here.
To listen to their views. So free speech is clearly on the side of the plaintiffs, but the defendant, the media giants, are claiming they have a First Amendment right to deny free speech.
Right. Because you do not have the right to, no matter how much you think the age of consent should be 12, Alan Dershowitz, if you come into my house and say that, I'm kicking your ass out.
They have a First Amendment right to censor, and the courts are going to have to resolve this conflict between free speech on the one hand and the First Amendment on the other hand.
Bullshit. This is just goofy.
First time in American history.
This is just dumb. Free speech is contained within the First Amendment. How are you separating this? What the hell is this?
This conflict has been presented. The current situation is absolutely intolerable. You have these giant media telling us what we can see, what we can hear, and being exempt.
No, you can see and hear whatever the fuck you want. You just can't see it or hear it here because fuck you. I don't care if Alan Dershowitz wants to see nude pictures of 10-year-old girls. Allegedly. I don't care. It's not my responsibility. And I certainly, if he wants a place to sit and look at them, he can't do it on my goddamn porch.
Tempted by congressional legislation, and then
there is no congressional legislation that will force your speech into someone else's mouth, dum-dum.
We have them claiming their rights under the First Amendment because they're a private company.
P.S. This is socialism. And what he's arguing for is socialism. On its way to communism.
It's unacceptable. And
no, it's normal.
And we already know there are at least a couple of justices who are prepared to take this issue on. So I suspect that we're going to get this case to the United States Supreme Court. And
no, you won't.
And it's going to be one of the most important cases. If I was still teaching at Harvard,
yeah, there would be even dumber people coming out of there now. I
would be giving a course solely on this lawsuit.
That's because you would be working on it, and you wouldn't. You'd just be selling it all the time, trying to get your students to poke holes in it so you could use it in court.
That's how important it is.
That answered one of my next questions is, do you think it's going to make it to the Supreme Court?
No.
which you
No, it won't.
clearly do believe. But
No, he doesn't. He's saying it. He doesn't believe it.
I want to ask
This bullshit.
this, and forgive me my naivete when it
Your naivete?
clearly do believe. But I want to ask this, and forgive me my naivete.
Your naivete? Your naivete?
When it comes to the law, but we've talked about this in the past, and I was thinking about it prior to this. We've talked about that baker who didn't want to bake a wedding cake for a gay couple, and he
Right.
said, well, it's a private business. I don't have to do this. And the court then forced them to bake the cake, right? So how is this different? Because they're saying we don't want to let him on our platform.
Because there is a finite number of bakeries in a space, and there's a certain amount of effort, and other people have to pay with their taxes for you to keep your lights on and all that other stuff, to drive to that location. So they take up a space on the street lights, the help in their security, the wiring for all the buildings, the regulations around it, all protect the existence of that bakery. And you can't deny other taxpayers the right to use a service you are offering in a secular world to other people simply because of who they are. You don't have to make a dick cake. You do not. Nothing in this is like, I want a cake that looks like a cock ring, and has happy Hanukkah and makes air quotes around Jews on the top of it, and then the bottom of it has a picture of George Soros, but his mouth is an anus, and I want this by Wednesday. You don't have to make that. You just have to make a cake like you make all the time for people because of that you disagree with their existence. That's not the same thing. You're not being forced to make a cake you would not otherwise make. It's just who you're making it for. You've written the word Dave on a cake. Yes, I have. Have you written the word Steve on a cake? Yes, I have. Write Dave and Steve. I won't do that. Why not? Well, it's the and part. Have you written and on a cake? Yes, I have. Then write Dave and Steve on the fucking cake and sell it to these people because they're not going to change who they are because of you, and they still have to pay taxes to keep your goddamn lights on. No one who's being kicked off of Twitter is being kicked off because of immutable characteristics. No one.
Wouldn't the
I know you want a dick cake, Julie, but they don't have to make it.
court have to say, well, you have to? I mean, I don't, maybe I'm not interpreting the case right.
Yeah. No, it's beyond that, Sean. The problem you're having is that you're fucking dumb.
Well, the court hasn't decided that case yet. It sent it back on a technicality. I suspect the court will decide that the baker doesn't have to bake the cake. And the social media will seize on that. And they'll say, if the baker doesn't have to bake the cake, we don't have to put Donald Trump on our social media platform.
Oh, wait a minute. Did Democrats file the lawsuit forcing the... So it's an evenly applied... All right.
Both sides will cite that case. The irony is
Is that it equally applies to everyone and nobody likes it?
have this conflict between what the First Amendment was intended to protect, the open marketplace of ideas, free speech. That's clearly on the side of the plaintiffs. But
No, it isn't. No, it is not. Because you still have other places to put your speech.
the other side is claiming, but the First Amendment also gives us the right to censor. There's a leading case involving the Miami Herald many years ago where they refused to publish a letter to the editor correcting a mistake they had made. And the Supreme Court said the right of free press includes the right of the press to decide what not to publish.
Right?
So this is not an easy case. Nobody can predict.
Oh my God. Three and a half minutes in Harvard emeritus, Harvard, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? I mean, I know Sean Spicer's dumb. I don't know what her deal is. We haven't heard anything from her because I will withhold judgment on her input in this situation. But Harvard, what the fuck is the matter with you? How does this make... How is this man not only a product of your institution, but a creator of the other products of your institution. This is amazingly dumb. This is next level idiocy. The First Amendment versus freedom of speech? What?
Predict for you today how this case is going to come out. The right
I will. It's going right in the shitter.
wants it to come out one way. The left wants it to come out another way. I'm a liberal Democrat, strong proponent of freedom of speech. I can tell
Bullshit.
you right here and now, I know for absolute sure that nobody knows how this case is going to come out.
I know for absolute sure. Jesus Christ. Absolute sure. I know for absolute sure, yes, goodness, that this case is going to go right in the garbage. It's nonsense.
So let's be real, though.
Yeah, let's be real for the first time. Are you wearing pants or not? This is gross.
These big tech giants, they have a lot of money to fight this Trump lawsuit.
And they're not going to have to spend any of it because it's going to take about 2 letters to get it thrown out.
How can the president and his allies succeed when these teams are just flooded with resources?
Well, I mean, ultimately, it's not the resources that are on their side. It's just reality.
Well, I've taken on a lot of very, very wealthy clients and beaten them.
Uh-huh.
I'm a lot of very, very wealthy defendants. If you have the law and the facts on your side, it's more important than having money on your side.
That's right. And that's why they're not going to have to spend a dime, and all the money that's going to be spent is going to be spent on the Trump side.
And of course, the Trump team and the people who are defending them have enough money, enough resources. They have great lawyers on their side. I know the lawyers who are defending President Trump.
Defending? They're the plaintiff.
And they are terrific.
They're the plaintiffs in this. Again, holy shit, the dude he teaches at Harvard, or did at one point. Trump is not the defendant in this case. Like, this kind of baseline, for fuck's sake.
Perfect lawyers, and they're as good as any lawyers on the other side. So this.
No, they're not. There's no fucking way that the people Trump is hiring that know that he's probably not going to pay them are not as good as the lawyers hired by Dorsey and Bezos and Zuckerberg.
This is a case that won't be decided by the quality of the lawyers or by the amount of money each side has.
Yeah, it'll be thrown out on its merits right away. It's stupid.
It's a case that will be decided very, very unpredictably by the Supreme Court, and that
It'll never get to the Supreme Court.
will probably have 7 different opinions because there are so many difficult issues in this case.
No, there aren't. Cut and fucking dry.
Issues that the court has never confronted before.
Well, yeah, because you wouldn't, and you're not going to now.
Hey, Professor, I don't have a ton of time left, but I want to.
Yeah, neither does he.
I saw something on Twitter that caught my eye. One journalist pointed out.
I'm sorry, you saw something on Twitter that was, I guess, allegedly posted on Twitter? Let's see what it is.
That the Trump team is suing these tech giants in Florida, and the terms of service say that they have to be sued in California.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's my question. Since Trump isn't actually a customer because they banned him, does that matter?
Yes. Yes, it does.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it does. You can't just pick a court that's friendly to you. You'll get your shit thrown out because of standing. Like, this is just dumb, too.
I don't think that
you don't think, just stop it, you don't think.
the contract is binding on somebody who's not a person who has signed on to the contract.
What? You're using the service. You clicked OK. The contract? You're using a free service. You could have filed anywhere. He's filing in Florida because he fucking lives there, and that's the company's fault? This is just goofy.
I've been writing about this issue for a long time.
And none of it makes any sense.
My newest book is called The Case Against the New Censors.
Oh, so you're just here selling a book.
How to Protect Against Big Tech. Why do I call them the new censors?
Yeah, why? I don't know.
Because the old censors were the government. That was easy. The First Amendment and free speech were on the same side. This time you have free speech on one side And at least the other side argues they have the First Amendment on their side.
It's the same. They have freedom of speech. I don't even know what the fuck that sentence is supposed to mean. One person is arguing I have free speech, and my free speech gives me the right to walk into your store and fart into the announcement thing, and then they have like the, like the cleanup on aisle 12 CB that you got hanging from the post, and you can't kick me out because freedom of expression. This is me I'm expressing myself currently. That's it. There you go. And you can't kick me out because I came in here because I have freedom of expression, and you do not have the freedom to say I don't want you to come in here and in my microphone. This is so fucking lame.
That's why it's the new censors. That's why it's so important.
They're not censors. They are not censors. You are not being censored by not being allowed to say your shit in someone else's house or in someone else's business.
That's why it's so difficult, and that's why it's so hard to predict how it will come out.
No, it isn't. It's not hard to predict at all. It's not. I mean, I understand you're lying because Trump is paying you as part of his team to advise him, or the secondary team is paying you, or you've worked out some sort of a deal to get prepaid on this nonsense because he's part of the team.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to reading the book because every
As soon maybe she can teach you how to read, Sean.
time we do one of these segments, I learn so much.
Oh shit.
I appreciate you coming on and breaking this down. It's great to know what a big case this is going to
It's not.
be, and hearing it from you adds that credibility. So thank you.
Adds that credibility? What are you talking about? Most of us are just worried that he has someone stashed in that fucking closet behind him.
As always.
Thank you.
By the way, how did Epstein die? Have you talked to Ghislaine Maxwell lately? When are you going to pop those questions? Jesus. Just frigging gross.